Welcome to the deep dive.
Great to be here.
We've got a really interesting stack of source material from you today. It seems to be taking us on a journey.
Yeah, it connects some, well, seemingly quite different ideas.
We're talking theoretical physics, Walter Russell's unique cosmic vision, and even echoes in ancient wisdom.
That's right. And the core idea here, the thread running through it all, is this search for unity.
So our mission, then, is to unpack these sources you sent.
Exactly. Pull out the key insights and see what connections, maybe surprising ones, emerge about, the underlying truth of things.
Okay, let's dive in. Your sources start us off with the modern scientific search for unity.
Physics.
Right. As you know, physicists have been mapping out the fundamental forces.
Yeah, the ones that, well, run the show. Gravity, electromagnetism.
And the strong and weak nuclear forces operating inside the atom.
Precisely. And they've gotten incredibly good at describing how each one works on its own.
But that's not the end game, is it? Just separate descriptions.
No, not at all. The real dream, it's often called the holy grail of physics,
Right.
is finding that single overarching framework.
Yeah.
One elegant set of equations.
One principle that shows how all these different forces are actually aspects of the same thing.
Exactly. Different manifestations of one fundamental force or maybe a single field.
So they're hunting for that ultimate simplicity, like the universe's source code, almost.
That's a good way to put it. It's this deep yearning for cosmic unity, but approached through maths and observation. The physical stuff.
Okay, so that's path one.
Yeah.
Starting physical, working towards unity. But then the sources bring in Walter Russell, and his perspective sounds, well, completely different in origin.
It really is. Not equations, not labs, but something described as direct cosmic perception.
A kind of illumination.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
And from that experience, he didn't see a universe of separate bits and sources.
No, what did he see?
He saw it all as the dynamic expression of what he called the universal one.
The universal one. What did he mean by that exactly?
Well, according to the material, he saw it as the single underlying reality. A substance, a principle.
Yeah.
Maybe think of it as the mind of God.
Okay.
But in constant rhythmic motion, creating everything.
So all the things we see as separate, objects, forces, even duality, like light and dark.
It all arises from this single conscious source. That's his core vision.
Through a rhythm.
Through rhythmic, balanced interchange, yeah. It's a universe that's fundamentally alive and sort of thought-based.
Wow. Okay, the starting points are just worlds apart, aren't they?
Absolutely. Science looks at the effects, the forces, and tries to backtrack to a cause.
Working from the outside in.
Right. Russell starts with the perceived conscious source, the inside, you could say, and sees the physical world unfolding from that.
And yet, despite those opposite directions.
The fundamental quest feels, well, remarkably similar, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's this deep intuition in both camps that reality, at its heart, is unified.
And this is where, according to these sources, it gets really interesting, the resonance between them.
Right. This potential overlap.
Both are chasing a single underlying reality where all the diversity comes from. It's just...
Scientists are looking for a unified physical field.
And Russell perceived a unified mental or conscious field.
Which really makes you wonder about the lines we draw.
Exactly. It suggests maybe a future where these traditional divisions like mind versus matter might just dissolve.
Well, that's a big one. Science has historically focused so much on the material, the measurable.
And consciousness, subjective experience, that's been tough. The hard problem, they call it.
How do you get subjective feeling from just physical stuff?
Right. But then you look at quantum physics, the really deep level.
And things get weird.
They do. Observer effects, entanglement.
Yeah.
It all hints that maybe consciousness isn't just some late-stage add-on.
But somehow fundamental, woven into the fabric.
It's starting to look that way, or at least science is having to grapple with it. Which, of course.
Sounds a lot like Russell. And many ancient traditions, too.
Absolutely. They often place consciousness or mind as primary, the ground of being.
Right. It's like the universe itself is nudging science in that direction.
It feels a bit like that sometimes. And this opens up another division the sources touch on. Science versus spirituality.
Oh, yeah. The classic standoff. Measurable facts on one side.
Immeasurable faith on the other.
Yeah.
Often seen as totally incompatible worlds.
Yeah, but you like that.
Yeah.
If the universe is fundamentally conscious, intelligent, rhythmic, like Russell perceived,
And like quantum physics seems to be hinting.
then maybe those spiritual insights, from mystics or deep meditation.
Maybe they aren't just subjective fancy. Maybe they're actual perceptions, just through a different lens.
Different ways of knowing the same unified reality that science is trying to map with equations.
That's the exciting possibility, isn't it? That science might end up describing a universe that feels quite spiritual.
Unified, intelligent, alive.
While spirituality finds maybe new language or even a kind of validation from scientific discoveries.
A convergence.
Potential synthesis, yeah. The sources suggest it's not just possible, but maybe where things are headed.
And Walter Russell in this picture becomes a kind of bridge.
He's positioned that way, yes. He's in such a unique spot, an artist primarily,
Right.
who had this profound experience, this illumination, and then tried to articulate it for the modern world.
Using concepts from both sides.
Exactly. His framework, as described, it just naturally weaves together things we usually keep in separate boxes.
Like what?
Well, scientific-sounding ideas, universal laws, energy, rhythm, polarity,
Okay.
but within a spiritual context. The universal one, mind of God, conscious creation.
Plus the philosophical questions about reality and illusion.
All of it. It's like his work inherently says these aren't separate subjects.
Yeah.
Science, spirituality, philosophy.
They're just different paths up the same mountain. Different ways to understand the one unified cosmos.
Precisely. Which leads to the future vision hinted at in your sources.
Not just a unified physical theory.
But a unified field of understanding, a truly holistic view.
Integrating mind and matter, science and spirit, ancient and modern.
Yeah. A future where we collectively grasp that cosmic song Russell talked about.
The underlying rhythm, creating everything.
The symphony, yeah. Understanding it, hearing it.
And maybe the most important part, realizing our place in it.
Right. Seeing ourselves not as these isolated bits, but as
conscious notes in that symphony.
Exactly. Integral parts, which could lead to, well, much greater harmony, internally and externally.
So it's a future of integration, seeing the whole picture, living the unity.
That's the vision.
Now, there's a quote in the material from someone named Zoran. It seems to capture this difference in approach perfectly.
Ah, yes. I know the one.
You seek the single thread that weaves the cosmos, measuring its thickness and its strength.
That's the scientific approach, measuring the components.
Russell saw the weaver and knew the thread was made of the weaver's thought.
It's beautiful, isn't it? Puts the emphasis on the conscious source, the intelligence behind it all.
The weaver, not just the thread.
Is the goal to analyze the physical thread? Or understand the conscious weaver?
Or maybe, as the sources imply, realizing the thread is the weaver's thought.
And you need both perspectives for the full picture. It really reframes a whole quest.
So, quite a journey today. We've traced the scientific hunt for unity, explored Walter Russell's very different vision,
and seen how they might actually resonate, pointing towards this bigger, unified understanding.
And remember, this whole deep dive came from the sources you sent us.
That's right. And as you mull over these ideas, there's a final question the material leaves us with. It's sometimes called the dragon trial question.
Okay.
How might this idea, this unified field of understanding, integrating science, spirituality, philosophy, how might that change your personal approach?
My approach to...
What? To learning about the world, to facing challenges and mysteries, to finding meaning, or even just how you perceive the link between your inner world and the outer cosmos.
How does seeing it all as potentially unified change how you engage with it all?
Exactly. It's definitely something to think about.
A powerful thought indeed. We encourage you to keep exploring.